welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back. So as I said in my last video, today's video is going to be all about how to buy a house in the UK. So this was so requested over on my Instagram and I just wanted to do this video so badly because, as you guys know, I bought my house in 2018 and I have to say the resources out there for just a step-by-step guide for young people like myself of how to buy a house were just so lacking, in my opinion. There were lots of blogs and things like that, but I'm a very visual person and I like to listen to advice. I like podcasts, I like YouTube videos. So I definitely wanted to do this video just to help you guys out. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do as a young person trying to buy a house is get your ish together. By that, I mean know what your income is, know how much money you've got. So I know that sounds silly because we've got online banking on our phones now. All you've got to do is go on and see how much money you've got, fine. But I mean go deep. Even if you're not like a spreadsheet lover, which I am by the way, if you're not a spreadsheet lover, then go and get just a notebook. I actually did one. This is an old notebook and this is old because my income is much higher than this now, but I don't know if you'll be able to see that, and you probably won't, but on this it says my incoming is 1,300. This was when I was on my apprenticeship per month, and then I had my outgoings, my car, my fuel, my bills, tube, which I don't even use the tube anymore, but tube, iTunes, gym, phone, food, Netflix, any other subscriptions I was signed up to. At that point I didn't even have rent to pay because I was living with my mum, but it's essential to write these down to know how much money you have to spend per month, and then you know how much money you've got left per month. And every month you're going to have that one thing that you need to do. You might have to get your tyres replaced on your car, like I had to this month. Annoyed about it. You might have to do some other things as well. So at least now you know how much money you've got per month spare, essentially. And what you do with that spare money is down to you. So if you're serious about buying a house, then you need to stop buying clothes excessively, stop going out for food, stop going out, getting drunk, whatever. Whatever you're doing, spending your money on, it's probably mainly food. That was the thing that I found, especially when I was working in London, that I would just spend money on food every day. I'd spend at least £10 a day on food, which is ridiculous. No. You're in work 5 days a week, £50 a week on food, and you're in work, let's say you're in work 50 weeks of a year, there's 52 weeks in a year, so you're in work 50 weeks of a year, that is £2,500 a year on food. And that's not essential food. We've all got the tools to make packed lunches at home. They don't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be a ham sandwich. It can be some fancy salad that you make, but if you're buying it from Aldi, all of the ingredients from Aldi, making it and then taking it to work, then that's smarter, guys. That's so much smarter. And then that £2,500 that you haven't spent, guess where that's going? In your deposit. I just want to say, guys, that just because you're being sensible with your money does not mean that you have to stop having fun. You don't want to not be having fun in your 20s or in your teens, of course you do. So just do things that are fun on a budget, and it's easy, trust me, you don't have to spend a lot of money to have fun. So yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that you don't have to stop having fun in order to start saving for your house. I'm grabbing a cup of tea because this ish is about to get deep. So now you've actually got to start saving for your deposit. In order to save, you need to know how much you need to save. You need to understand that you need about a 10% deposit generally on a house. So for example, if you have a house in mind that's £200,000, you need 10% of that £200,000. So you would need, in that example, £20,000 as a deposit. And then all you'd have to do is apply for a mortgage, and then you'd borrow the £180,000, and that is what you pay interest on. One thing to note is the higher the deposit, the less interest you pay on your mortgage because the less you have to borrow, if that makes any sense. So just to give you a real example, we paid £185,000 for our house and we had a £20,000 deposit. So we had to get a mortgage of £165,000. And the interest on that is about 2.5%, which is quite good. You could get better, but we didn't have great. But I didn't really have a credit score because I'd never borrowed any money, and in order to get a good credit score, you need to prove that you can pay back money. So the next step is getting an agreement in principle. When a mortgage advisor tells you how much you are probably able to borrow based on loads of different things like your pay slips and how much you earn per month, what your bank statements look like, how much debt you have, all of these kind of things they take into consideration, and they generate a number that you're probably going to be able to borrow. You don't get a definite number until you actually have a house in mind, and then you have to go through the actual process of getting a mortgage and choosing the provider that you want to go for. But for this step, it gives you a good idea about what your budget actually is. So for example, we thought our budget was £175,000, and then we went to get our mortgage in principle, and we actually found out that we could afford to get a house up to £190,000. So that then increased the amount of houses that we could go and look at. Equally, you could find out that actually what you thought you could afford, you might not be able to afford, and it just sets the search at the right level, and you know what houses you should be going to look at because they are in your budget. So you can do it many ways. You can go to a mortgage advisor, and they have them on literally every estate agent in the high streets. They have them everywhere. But what we did, and what I would recommend in 2020 to do, because it's so much easier, is go on Habito, which is an online mortgage advisor, and you can do everything on your laptop. And you've got the little icon at the bottom where you can talk to someone, and they're always really, really helpful. I'll leave a link to Habito down in the description box below. Definitely go and check it out if you're interested in getting a mortgage in principle. Now, there are loads of things that affect how much you'll actually pay back a month on your mortgage, but the main thing is actually how long your mortgage is. So for example, the classic mortgage is a 25-year mortgage. However, if you get a longer mortgage, so a 30-year mortgage or a 35-year mortgage, then you have to pay less per month. Obviously, you have to just pay it for longer. We actually got a 35-year mortgage, but it just means that we pay less a month, and we could afford this £185,000 house. Later on in the video, I will talk about how we got this house for £185,000 when it was actually on the market for £195,000. So I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. Once you've got your agreement in principle, now you know how much money you are able to borrow, and therefore what your budget is. And this is where the fun thing starts. House hunting. This is the fun part. So this is where you're going to estate agents, you're going house hunting, you're going on viewings, you're going on Rightmove, you're doing all of these fun things. And you've got to be sensible with it. You can't go to these insane houses, go to houses that are within your budget. We didn't look at any houses over £200,000 because we knew that we wouldn't be able to afford them. When I went for viewings, and I actually did it on my own with my mum instead of Ash, because Ash was away with work at the time, so I had my mum with me, and she was great because she knew all the questions to ask. She knew to ask questions about when the windows were last done, because windows are really expensive to redo, and if they're not double glazing, then you need double glazing, like, you need it. She also asked questions about the boiler and whether it's a combi boiler or if it's got a water tank, where the water tank is, where the stopcock is, all of these questions that I would not have thought to ask. So it's really important to know what questions you want to ask, and just don't be scared to ask them. My next tip for looking at houses is don't think about the cosmetic problems with the house. Don't think about the colour of the walls. Don't think about the carpets necessarily, because they're all things you can change. Think about big things. So for example, if you hate the kitchen, do you have to rip the kitchen out? Do you have to get a new kitchen? Or can you just lick of paint and it will be fine? What's going to cost you money? And you have to factor that into your budget as well. If you've only got £20,000 and you want to put that on a deposit, that means you have no money put away for changes to the house. Make sure you know what is important to you and what you either can't change or what's going to cost lots of money to change. Putting in an offer. So first of all, my advice to you when putting an offer in on a house is be cheeky. So I know that is not necessarily the best advice for a house that is really sought after and lots of other people are putting in offers. However, estate agents lie. Estate agents tell you that there's lots of interest when there's not lots of interest. So you've got to read it, got to read the situation, and you've got to understand if it's been on the market for 6 months and the estate agent's telling you that there's 6 offers on it, they're probably lying. Because if it's been on the market for 6 months, all of a sudden there's 6 offers, I smell a rat. So my advice would always be go in with a low offer and all they can do is decline, it doesn't matter. So like I said, we bought this house for £185,000 when it was actually on the market for £195,000. So I put my £185,000 offer in, knowing that actually I was willing to go up to £190,000. But I put the offer in and it was accepted straight away. So I saved myself £10,000. I didn't even expect that to happen. I thought they were going to decline my offer and ask for more, but lower than the asking price. So like I said, I was willing to go up to £190,000, but I didn't need to. Winning. My next tip for you about putting an offer in is don't feel pressured from the estate agent. I touched on that slightly before. Estate agents want to make a sale, and better yet, they want to make a sale for the most money because they get commission off of every sale they make. They might try and pressure you into making an offer sooner than you might like or higher than you might like. So just hold your ground and make sure they know that you're in control. Next thing is get your offer accepted. Then, this is where the hard part starts. So you've got to find a solicitor, which is actually a lot easier than it sounds. So I obviously have never had a solicitor before I bought a house. I didn't know where to start, but actually the estate agent generally will have someone they work with quite a lot in terms of solicitor that they can recommend you. And hopefully if they work with them quite a lot, the process will be a lot quicker. So that's what we did. I asked the estate agent who they recommend in terms of solicitors in the area, because we were moving areas as well, so we wanted to have local estate agents and local solicitors who knew the area. I'll come on to why that's important in a little bit. So that's what we did. We got someone local and who the estate agent recommended, and it's called instructing a solicitor. That just means get them to write your contracts and everything like that to help you buy this house. I would say put aside about £2,000 to £5,000 of your money for solicitors' fees, because it is a cost that you have to consider when buying a house. Once you've instructed your solicitor, next thing is surveys. I didn't know what this meant, but surveys essentially are when they go into the house and around the house and check for things like, is it in a flooding place? Any structural problems with the property? Has it got damp? What's the wiring like? So all of these things, these really important things, that's what the surveys do, and that is what the solicitor starts doing as soon as you've instructed them. Next up is getting your mortgage. So this is where you have to either go and talk to them, or if you're doing it via Habito, then you can do it online. But if you're doing it with the mortgage advisor or broker, whoever you choose to go with, you will have to provide them with lots and lots of documents, so make sure you've got them all together. You'll need your last 3 payslips, you'll need lots of different IDs, so you'll need definitely either your driving license or your passport, bank statements, proof of address, so any bills or letters to your address. There's lots of different things that they'll need to prove that you are who you say you are and that you can afford to repay this money that they're going to give you essentially. Next up, we've got solicitor searches. So again, this was all jargon to me, but what it means is they check the really important stuff around the house and in the local area. So for example, they'll check, where does the water supply come from? Is there any contaminated land where you are moving to? Is there a manhole, for example, in your property, in your front garden? Will they have to, if there's a leak, if there's a gas leak, if there's a blockage of any kind, is someone going to have to climb down in your front garden? Anything like this, they will find out in the solicitor searches. And if you find out that anything in the searches is cause for concern, then you can adjust your offer accordingly. But luckily enough for us, that didn't happen, so we went ahead as per the plan. Once the solicitor searches are done and you've got your mortgage and you've got the money, it's about to get real. Now it's time to exchange, which is when the solicitors, your solicitors and the vendor's solicitors, the person that currently owns the house, swap. They swap contracts and you sign. This can take a while to get to this point. It can take anywhere from 1 month to 6 months or even longer to actually get to this point. Surveys and searches do take a long time sometimes. Sometimes it takes longer than others depending on the area and the solicitor and all of these other things. But once you get to this point, you are going to exchange contracts. This is where you put down your deposit. So you send that £20,000 or whatever your deposit is to your solicitors, and they put it in a little holding cell until all of the money goes to the vendor. This is where you say goodbye to your money and your solicitor takes it away. But amazingly, after you've done this, you get your completion date, which is when you are finally able to pick up the keys and move into your house. So the final step is complete the sale of the house, or the purchase of the house, should I say. This is where you send all of the money to the solicitor. So you've already sent the 20,000 or your deposit money, but then you get the money from your mortgage lender. So ours was Santander. Santander sends you the money that you've borrowed, and then you send it to the solicitor, and then that's all of your money. That's all of your money gone. Then they send it on to the vendor's solicitor, and it's done. Then you've paid for your house and you can go and pick up the keys. Once you know what date this is all going to happen, make sure you book time off work so you've got enough time to not only move in, but also start making your house feel a little bit like a home at least. Get those essentials, get that kettle, get those tea bags, get somewhere to sit, even just a bean bag or just like a fold out chair or something, and get your house looking like a home. And that is it. That is how you buy a house in the UK in 2020. Hopefully that was a nice little insight for you guys about my house buying journey, but also my tips and tricks that I learned along the way. And I'm telling you now, I didn't know any of this when I was 19, 20, first looking at buying a house. I just wanted to make this video for you guys so that you have a little bit of information to help you actually get on that property ladder, because it is the best thing, I tell you now. So this is why I'm telling you guys, if you can, be sensible with your money, buy a house, live your best life. But anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you want to see more stuff like this, then leave a little comment in the description box below. Tell me what you want to see from me. Make sure you give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe so you can get notified of my next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.